Okay, Rhonda, we are live now if you want to call the meeting to order.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Perth East Council, this 20th day of April. Yes, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If everyone would please bow their heads, we'll have a moment of reflection. Thank you. We do have an item to add to the agenda, so Ashley, if you'd please do that.
Okay, under correspondence, item number 9.2. This was emailed out to council and staff earlier today. A piece of correspondence from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture dated April 13th, 2021 regarding municipal infrastructure and maintenance. And that's the only addition I have.
Okay, anyone else have anything they wish to add at this time? Seeing nothing, we need a motion to accept the agenda as amended. Moved by Amanda, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can declare it now. Hugh? You cut out, Hugh. Can you say it again?
8.11.
Okay, 8.11. Anyone else? No? Okay, that will be noted in our minutes. We move on to consent agenda. We have 13 items in the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone has any questions on or would like pulled? No? Okay. A motion to accept the consent agenda items. Moved by Jerry, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we have no delegations. We have no public meetings. We do have public hearings. The first one is 7.2.1, and this is minor variance application. So this is a meeting that we, last week we had the public meeting part of it. This week we have to have the resolution part. So council will now temporarily adjourn to sit as committee of adjustment pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act. The committee will consider an application affecting property currently owned by 2224243 Ontario Limited and described as lot 223 part 222 and 228 registered plan 363 70 Main Street South, Milverton, Township of Perth East. The virtual public hearing was held on April 6, 2021. I will now call on Township Planner Susanna Reed to present the planning report and recommendations. Susanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor Eagles. As the mayor has mentioned, the public hearing for this meeting was held on April the 6th. And at that meeting, the committee provided direction for staff to meet with the property owners who had provided correspondence with regards to the proposed Tim Hortons at 70 Main Street South in Milverton, in order to follow up with them and see if it was possible to address their concerns through the site plan process. So, and the direction from the committee at that point was to return to the April 20th council meeting. So the report in your packages summarizes what happened since the April 6th meeting, and I'll just walk through those comments. So an email was sent to the people who had provided comments in response to the notice of public hearing. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we weren't able to meet in person on the site. So there was a Zoom meeting held on Friday, April 9th, and the folks that were in attendance are listed in the report in your package. And then on April 12th, there was a second meeting held because some of the people weren't available on the Friday. And then finally, there was a email exchange with two people who had provided comments as well. So all in all, there were 7 folks who participated to the discussion and review of the site plan since the April 6th meeting. The planning report summarizes the issues that were discussed, and I'll just walk through those as well. So with regards to the height of the fence, there was both a board-on-board fence discussed and an insulated wall fence discussed at both meetings. And the discussion was also with regards to the height of the fence. So at both meetings, 2.5 meters tall was discussed. And the other note in the report is that Travis Harmer at 45 Temperance Street, which is behind the proposed Tim Hortons, intends to keep his fence, and he's concerned about maintenance between the proposed fence and his existing fence. At the time of preparing the report, the developer is proposing a 2.5 meter tall board-on-board fence around the subject property. With regards to the landscape buffer, the committee will remember that this is the reason for the minor variance application was to reduce the requirement for landscaped open space from 20% to 6.3%. So there was discussion with regards to the landscaped open space of both meetings, and there were no concerns discussed from the neighbors with regards to the landscaped open space. Since the report was prepared, the developer has provided a landscape drawing prepared by a consultant for the property. I'm not sure, I think that was received after the council package was outed, so I don't think that council would have received that. The lighting plan, the developer has prepared a photometric study to ensure that there's no light on any cast on neighboring properties, and that photometric plan was received before the council package was sent, so I believe that is in your package. Garbage was discussed. It was requested that garbage plans be shown on the site plan. Also, there is concern about odor and yellow jackets from the dumpster at the back of the lot. So the developer has changed the garbage dumpster to be underground earth bins in order to address concerns with regards to odor and stinging insects. And the developer also discussed staff responsibilities for picking up litter on the site. Hours of operation were a concern from neighboring property owners. And at this point, the owner is planning the same hours as the Esso station, which is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And he has indicated that the hours of operation may change to respond to business needs. So it is possible that it would be earlier and later than that time. With regards to traffic, I would say that this is the substantive issue that was discussed on Monday, April 12th in particular. There's concern about additional traffic congestion and implication for emergency vehicles on Main Street. The developer had prepared a traffic impact study, and that was submitted to the municipality or to the township before the minor variance application was submitted. It was required for the site plan application. And BM Ross, as the municipality's engineer, had reviewed the traffic impact study on behalf of the township. Following the April 12th meeting, after receiving the substantive concerns from neighboring property owners with regards to traffic, both Dale Erbett, BM Ross, and the fire chief, Bill Hunter, were contacted to provide additional comments, and both of those letters from BM Ross and the fire chief are included in the council package. And then finally, there was a concern with regards to transport trucks stopping on Road 131. Folks that were interested in buying coffee or using the washroom at Tim Hortons, who are driving transport trucks, wouldn't be able to go into the property. And there is concern about the increased number of trucks that might stop south of the Esso station on the shoulders on Road 131, and the impact for the residents located at those locations. And the following options were discussed if that becomes a problem in the future. Includes a bylaw to indicate no stopping on the shoulders and signage, and also requesting the OPP to enforce bylaws. So that summarizes the comments from the discussion at the public or at the 2 Zoom meetings. Continuing then with the planning comments, there are, as the committee will remember, there are 4 tests to a minor variance. Does it conform with the official plan? Does it conform with the zoning bylaw? Is it considered minor? And is it considered appropriate planning for the subject site? So with regards to conformity with the official plan, the substantive test here is with regards to, is because this is back then to considering the minor variance itself. So the reduction of 20% to 16.3% landscaped open space. The policy in the Millerton official plan states that the landscape open space, that the landscaping and buffering be adequate. So with the additional information regarding the height of the proposed fence being 2.5 meters, and the anticipated with the landscape design, which has now been provided and will be incorporated into the site plan. Also with the comments from the neighbors indicating that, like at the 2 meetings that we had, noise and landscaping didn't seem to be substantive outstanding concerns. The planning department is satisfied that the proposal meets the intention of the official plan. With regards to the second test, conformity with the zoning bylaw, the same considerations that were discussed with the official plan applied to the zoning bylaw. That the purpose of the minimum landscaped open space requirement is to implement the policies of the Millerton official plan and provide for adequate buffering to the adjacent residential uses. So as the 2.5 meter high fence is proposed and the developer has provided a landscaping design, the planning department is satisfied that the proposal meets the intention of the zoning bylaw. The third test then is with regards to, can it be considered minor? And as I reviewed at April 6th, the reduction is about an 18.5% reduction, which would be 80 square meter area, a difference of that 80 square meter area. And again, because the requirement or what the concern is with regards to adequate buffering, we're satisfied that this meets the test of minor. And then finally, with regards to the 4th test, can we consider it appropriate planning for the subject site? We are of the opinion that the mitigation efforts proposed to address noise, lighting, fencing, landscape garbage are adequate, and that the requested variance is appropriate planning for the subject site. As a result, we're recommending that the application be approved with conditions that the owner applicant enter into a site plan agreement with the Township of Perth East, that the owner applicant provide a landscape plan to the Township of Perth East and incorporate the landscape plan into the site plan, that the owner applicant complete a photometric study and incorporate the recommendations of the study into the site plan, and that a 2.5 meter high fence be shown on the site plan, buffering the backyards of residential properties on Temperance Street and Wilfred Street. And then finally, the second condition then, that the owner applicant complete construction of the proposed structure within 1 year from the date of decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Those are all my comments. Mary Gotts, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Susanna. Is there any questions from the members of the committee? Jeremy?
Excuse me. I'm happy to see that the developer met with the neighbors, that's for sure. And I'm glad that they were able to address some of those concerns. When I was reviewing the traffic study, there was a couple of items that popped out at me, and I just wanted to confirm which is correct. So the traffic study has a certain site plan on it, and the township report has a different site plan, which allows, I think, an additional 2 cars in the queue in the township site plan, like the one that you've presented versus the one that was in the traffic study. So is it safe to say that the new one is the one that you've presented us with versus the original one? Because you just said tonight that that was received before the application.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Through you, Mayor Egots, the site plan was updated since the traffic impact study was completed. So the standalone site plan that's in your package, I'm just looking for it, is the most recent version, and that hasn't been finalized yet. So there might be a few additional changes to that site plan.
Okay, so the one, yeah, it's not finalized yet. So the first one, which had the traffic impact study, it said that it was adequate with 11 cars, and they've increased it to 13. So I think that's a positive there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry about that. Page 81. I'm not sure if they've just made a double negative here or not, but if you look at PE 81, second paragraph, there's a statement that says there is less than 10% probability that the queue will not exceed 11 vehicles. So if there's less than 10% chance, I'm just trying to understand what that's trying to say. I think it's trying to say that there is a less than 10% chance that it will exceed 11 vehicles, will not exceed 11 vehicles. So I just want to clarify the wording on that. It's PE 81. There is a less than 10% probability that the queue will not exceed 11 vehicles. That doesn't really make sense to me. I think it's supposed to be worded the other way, but.
We can get the answers for you, Jeremy. Actually, council's not dealing with the traffic study. We just provided that for information. Council is working on the minor variance for the landscaping. And
Yeah, absolutely. I was just curious about the traffic study. That's all. I think wording is wrong, and if it's correct the way that it is, that's a bad thing.
Okay, we'll have someone check into that.
And my last question here, Chief Hunter, thanks for sending in the comments. I think the big concern that some of the residents do have is the emergency vehicles exiting town at the south end. And in reference to Mitchell, like Mitchell does have sort of a rolling curb at the edge of their town, so that people can pull over a little bit easier, as opposed to what we have, sort of that abrupt curb down in that area. Are you satisfied that that is enough? Like, will people be able to pull over enough for you to get around there?
It's like any other traffic congestion that we encounter. People are required to move to the side. Currently, that area of Main Street does have a barrier curb, basically from the commercial area all the way south to this property. So there really isn't anywhere prior to that even for vehicles to pull over. So we are moving into the northbound lane to get around vehicles. That's the way we've been doing it for years, and we'll probably continue doing it that way.
Okay, anyone else with questions? Seeing no questions, we do have a motion regarding the application, and that is that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment received a report dated April 20, 2021, prepared by the planner, entitled Minor Variance Application Number D13A04 2021 by Gamma Engineering on behalf of 2224243 Ontario Limited, affecting lands described as Lot 223, Part 222 and 228, Registered Plan 363, 70 Main Street South, Milverton, Township of Perth East, and that the Perth East Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application D13A04 2021 with the following conditions. Number one, that the owner applicant enter into a site plan agreement with the Township of Perth East. 1A, that the owner applicant provide a landscape plan to the Township of Perth East and incorporate the landscape plan into the site plan. B, that the owner applicant complete a photometric study and incorporate the recommendations of the study into the site plan. C, that a 2.5 meter high fence be shown on the site plan buffering the yards of residential properties on Temperate Street and Wilford Street. And number 2, that the owner applicant complete construction of the proposed structure within 1 year from the date of the decision to the satisfaction of the chief building official. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Andrew, second by Hugh. Any more questions of the committee? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and our second public meeting. This virtual public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Joseph Kipfer, described as part of Lot 16, Concession 7, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, 4044, Perth Line 72, Millbank. The purpose of this hearing is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed application and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purposes of clarifying the application, but are asked to withhold comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Due to COVID-19, public hearing procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by deadline of Monday, April 19, 2021, 12 noon with the municipal clerk. Any person who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to email their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer following this hearing. An appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal objecting to the decision made at this hearing may be filed with the Secretary Treasurer not later than May 10th, 2021. No written notice except as previously noted will be given unless requested at this time. I will now call on Township Planner Susanna Reed to present the planning report and recommendations. Susanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. As the mayor has outlined, this is a minor variance application submitted by Joe Kipfer. The applicant for this file is Brad Gibson, and the property is probably familiar to the committee. It's the Millbank Family Furniture Store in Millbank. The property is designated village in the county official plan in zone C3-17, which is a special highway commercial zone in the Perth East zoning bylaw. So again, I'll just walk through the 4 tests that are outlined in your planning report. The direction from the official plan is that adequate separation and buffering shall be provided from adjacent residential areas or other sensitive uses. And that distance separation shall be addressed through the municipal zoning bylaw. So when the property was rezoned in 2017, they submitted a report prepared by Burnside Engineering to consider the compatibility of a furniture finishing facility with surrounding sensitive land uses. And that is what we are discussing today. I might just flip to the drawing on, this is on page 138 of your package. Just so that this makes it easier to have an understanding of the proposal. So the furniture store, which is built now, is here. And what is being discussed is the setback requirement from a second building, which would be accessory to the furniture store. And this would be a building that is used for refinishing and assembling furniture. So what we're discussing is the setback from this building to the rear lot line, which, as approved by the zoning bylaw C3-17, the zoning permit requires a 10-meter setback here. And the request from the applicant at this point is to reduce this to a 5-meter setback in order to provide more area for a septic system. In order to support this application, as I mentioned, the applicant submitted a report prepared by Burnside Engineering in 2017. And that study is demonstrates that it's possible for the accessory building to be constructed without impacts on neighboring residential uses, so long as a number of mitigation efforts are considered or are incorporated. And these include ensuring the paint booth fan sound power will not exceed 92 decibels when the exhaust stack is located at the most conservative area on the roof, which is the southeast point. Second, that the paint booth exhaust stack be further away on the room from the sensitive receptors than in the model. This option will require verification that the additional distance adequately compensates for any increase in sound power. And finally, to build a noise barrier approximately 2 meters in height along the southeasterly property line between the northeastern building and the residence at 4038 Perth line 72. So that's the one residence that's within proximity to the subject site that would be impacted by the proposed structure. So provided the mitigation efforts proposed by the Burnside report are implemented through the site plan and building design, the application conforms with the zoning bylaw. With regards to the consideration of minor, the rear yard setback for accessory buildings in commercial zones is 3 meters. For some reason, when the C3-17 zone was approved, it was considered with a 10-meter setback. But because other commercial zones have a setback of 3 meters, we are satisfied that the reduction in the rear yard setback from 10 meters to 5 meters is minor. And finally, the fourth test, is it considered appropriate planning for the subject site? The variance has been requested in order to provide adequate area for the septic tank and tile bed. The Burnside report addresses concerns with regards to compatibility with neighboring property owners. So provided those mitigation efforts are introduced through the site plan, the planning department is of the opinion that it is appropriate planning for the property. So we're recommending that the application be approved with 2 conditions. One, that the site plan be amended, revising the location of the furniture finishing building and incorporating the mitigation efforts identified in the Burnside report. So there is a site plan that has been approved with the location of the building close or further away from the lot line. So the site plan would need to be revised. And second, that the owner applicant construct the building within 1 year of the date of the approval of the minor variance to the satisfaction of the chief building official. Those are my comments. Mary, I'm available to answer questions if the committee has any.
Okay, thanks, Susanna. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. We do have the applicant, Brad Gibson from Whitesell Dice Engineering, registered to speak in respect to the application. So Brad, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any comments you wish to make?
I don't think so. Susanna did a great job. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members? No questions. Okay, the committee will now consider a motion regarding the application, and the motion is that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment received the report dated April 20, 2021, prepared by the planner entitled Minor Variance Application Number D13-A05-2021 by Brad Gibson on behalf of Joe Kipfer, affecting lands described as Part Lot 16, Concession 7, Mornington Ward 4044, Perth Line 72, Millbank, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, and that the Perth East Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application D13-A05-2021 to permit a rear yard setback of 5 meters for an accessory building to refurnish furniture with the following 2 conditions: that the site plan be amended, revising the location of the furniture refurnishing building and incorporating the mitigation efforts identified in the 2017 Burnside report, and that the owner applicant complete construction of the proposed structure within 1 year of the date of the decision to satisfaction of the chief building official. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Jerry. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. I declare this virtual public hearing closed. Okay, back to our agenda. Our next item is under planning is 8.1.1, and Adam has another meeting tonight and he has not been able to join us as of yet. So with your permission, we will move on to the next items, and when Adam joins us, we will come back to this one. Okay, so we're going to move on to 8.1.2, which is application consent to sever by John McKercher. Susanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor Egots. Yeah, so this is a consent application, and the consent application is submitted to the county as the land division authority. So in this case, it's being circulated to the Township of Perth East for comments. I'll just share my screen so I can walk through the intention of the application. This is the subject property. It's lot 1, concession 13 and 14 of Mornington Ward. And this property is owned by Willem Bakker Enterprises. This piece is owned by Grand Meadows. And the intention is to sever the back of this piece and merge it onto the adjacent farm. This is about a 10-acre parcel. And the reason for this is that there is a drain that runs at the back of the farm, and it's difficult to access and crop the lands behind the drain. So it's a fairly straightforward application. This farm doesn't have any buildings on it anymore. So the planning comments are in your package. The comments start at the bottom of page 185. Don't think that maybe I'll just make reference to the size of the parcel. So the retained land, once the severance is finalized, if it is to be finalized, is about 37.5 hectares, which is 93 acres. And then the merged parcels, so with the addition of the approximately 10 acres to the land to the east, will be about 45.5 hectares or 112 acres. The property is designated agricultural in the County of Perth official plan, and it's zoned agricultural in the Perth East zoning bylaw. The provincial policy statement states that in prime agricultural areas, all types, sizes, and intensity of agricultural uses and normal farm practices shall be promoted and protected in accordance with provincial standards. The County of Perth official plan provides a number of tests and requirements for land division in order to sever or enlarge adjacent or abutting farm properties. And those criteria are outlined in the planning report. So first of all, farming must be the existing and or intended use. And in this case, that is true. The size of the lot must be large enough to provide the current or future farm operators with flexibility for expanding, diversifying, or intensifying the farm operation, or changing the type of commodities produced in order to meet changing economic conditions and trends in agriculture. And the lot areas which are reviewed are adequate for this required purpose. Each lot must meet the minimum distance separation requirements, and there are no buildings on either the severed or retained parcel, so there are no MDS concerns. And finally, the provisions of section 50 sub 3 be applied to the severed parcel, and the effect of that is that the severed parcel will then merge on title with the farmlands to the east, which is the intention of the application. So as the commenting agency, municipal conditions are proposed or listed on page 185. That confirmation be received from the Township of Perth East that all financial requirements have been met, if any. That confirmation has been received from the Township of Perth East that all taxes have been paid in full. And finally, that confirmation be received from the Township of Perth East that the apportionment schedule for municipal drains in this area be reviewed and updated if necessary to the satisfaction of the township. So with those conditions, it's recommended that council receive the report regarding the application for consent to sever B0621. And that council recommends to the County of Perth Land Division Committee that the file be approved, subject to the conditions listed in the report.
Okay, thanks, Susanna. Does anyone have any questions? See no questions. We do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Application for Consent to Sever number B06-21 by John McKercher on behalf of Willem Baker Enterprises Incorporated, affecting lands described as Lot 1, Concession 13 and 14, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth East, 4950, line 83, dated April 2021, prepared by the planner. And that the Perth East Council recommend that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the file B04-21 application for consent to sever for lands described as Lot 1, Concession 13 and 14, Mornington Ward, Township of Perth, 6515 and 6545, line 26, subject to the following conditions. And there are 7 conditions. Number 1, that confirmation be received from the solicitor that certificate of the official be scanned and attached to electronic registration. Number 2, the Land Division Committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application. Number 3, the confirmation be received by the Land Division Secretary Treasurer that the sign and the sign frame was posted and returned. Number 4, that the solicitor's undertaking shall be received by the County Perth Land Division Committee and shall to the effect that the severed parcel be added as a lot addition to the abutting parcel described in the west half of Lot 2, Concession 12, Mornington 4916, line 83. Number 5, that confirmation be received the Township of Perth East that all financial requirements are met. Number 6, the taxes all have been paid in full, confirmed by the Township of Perth East. And that confirmation from the Township of Perth East that the municipal drains in the area have been reviewed and updated. So we need a mover and a seconder for all that. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, I see Adam has joined us, so we're going to go back to 8.1.1, and that is the application for sever from the Optimist Club of Shakespeare by Murray McTavish. So Adam, the floor is yours.
Your Worship, members of council, good evening and thank you. And I apologize, I was presenting at Perth South Council, and when I was finished, I came over to the east as quick as I could. I'm going to share a screen with council because I'd like to walk everybody through some maps here, which I think will help paint the picture of what this complex application is trying to achieve. Okay, can everybody see the sketch with the air photo in front of them? And my cursor also is moving. Everyone can see that? Okay. So I'm going to start just backing up a little bit, going back in time a little bit, and talking about the Optimist Club and their land holdings, which I think is best shown on this sketch here. The Shakespeare Optimist Club own everything that's in green right now, and it's basically a complex collection of old parts on an old plan of subdivision. There's some former road allowances in there, and this one was very complex because some of the lands are parts on a plan and some aren't, and some are merged, some aren't. So it took a little bit of deciphering to get this application before us today, but I think we've got it all down, and I think it's ready to go. So what I want to just show council is the Optimist Club owns everything in green. This was a previous severance from 2019. This red lot actually used to extend to the road, and this is part of an old road allowance which was severed off and then conveyed to this blue lot, which is an old plan of subdivision lot that was obviously never built out. The soccer fields and the sport fields are all down here, and then the community center is down here. There was another consent last year, which was done kind of at the north end of the property, which was this yellow lot. This house fronting on the highway was that the back portion was severed off. And the idea is that this yellow portion is to be conveyed to the overall land holdings of the Optimist Club. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to achieve here is, I'll skip over this, but this is from the applicant. So the Optimist Club seeks to retain everything in blue, which is basically the sports fields. And then the part up here in yellow is what the applicant is trying to assemble and then convey to a developer for a future residential development. More than likely townhomes, but it remains to be seen at this time. So what the developer is looking for is the consolidated parcel, which is this here in red, if everybody can see that. So at the end of the day, this parcel would no longer be owned by Optimist. This parcel in red would be purchased by a developer for future development. So this resulting red parcel, which would be the consolidated property, has an area of it's 0.65 hectares, or just a little over 1.5 acres. So there is enough land area there for potential residential development in the future, more than likely higher density residential, more than likely townhomes is what I've heard. So just going back to today's application, what this application will do, and I believe this is the final application in this program, is it's going to convey parts 2 and parts 3, which are part of the old West Street Road allowance, and convey them to lot 165. And as a result of today's application, the parcels will have been assembled and eventually merged so that this part, that C shape that I showed you earlier, will be conveyed away from the Optimist Club for future residential development. So staff have reviewed this application extensively, many conversations with the surveyor to try to get everything in line and make sure that the appropriate conditions are included. And staff have no objection to the application, subject to the conditions. We did not receive any written objections or approvals otherwise from the public on this application. I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Any questions on this application? Daryl?
No, you hit it on the head there real nice. You explained this. It's complex. I've looked at this and you really got to slow yourself down when going through this every time this area comes up. And no, you put a lot of effort, and I believe this is going to be good, the best it can be. And I just want to say thanks. There's been a few calls and concerns. I'm sure Andrew's had lots as well. But okay, thank you. And no, I'm grabbing more all the time. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else with questions? No? Okay, seeing no questions, we do have a resolution that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive a report entitled Application for Consent to Sever number B01/21 by the Optimist Club of Shakespeare, affecting lands described as Part West Street, PL 333S, East Hope, closed by R2 55069, Part 2 and Part 3, 44R 4030, Perth East, dated April 2021, prepared by the county planner for information. And that council recommends that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the application for consent to sever number B01/21, Part West Street, PL 333S, East Hope, closed by R2 55069, Part 2 and Part 3, 44R 4030, Perth East, subject to the following conditions. And there are 11 conditions, and I'm going to try to give you the Reader's Digest version. So 1, that confirmation be received from the Township of Perth East, all financial requirements have been met. Number 2, that Township confirms that taxes are all paid in full. Number 3, Township confirms the municipal drains in this area are reviewed and updated. Number 4, confirmation be received from a solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. 5, the committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of the deed or the transfer. 6, the confirmation received by the Perth County Land Division Committee Secretary Treasurer that the sign and the frame posted on the subject property has been returned within 30 days. Number 7, solicitor's undertaking be received, which shall be to the effect at the time of the registration of the transfer to which the certificate under section 53 of the Planning Act is affixed. The names of the owners of the abutting lands to which the parcels are joined are the same as a transfer in the said transfer. Number 8, the solicitor undertaking received by the County Land Division Committee to the effect that the severed parcels being parts 2 and 3, 44R, 43 be added as a lot addition to the abutting parcel generally described as lot 165, plan 333. Number 9, that the solicitor undertaking be received by the County Perth Land Division Committee that the severed parcel subject to consent application B05-20 being part 4, plan 44R 5808, be added as a lot addition to the abutting consolidated parcel resulting from consent application B0121 generally described as lot 165, plan 333 and parts 2 and 3, plan 44R 4043, and that section 50 or the Planning Act shall apply to any subsequent conveyance. Number 10, confirmation be received from a solicitor that their resident land, severed lands, and the lands to which it is being added will be encumbered by a mortgage as one lot at the time of registration of transfer. And number 11, undertaking from a solicitor that the parcels will be consolidated under land titles onto one PIN. Need a mover and a seconder for all that. Moved by Andrew. Second by Daryl. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Adam. Do you have anything else for us?
No, I don't. Just through your worship to council, thank you very much and have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Okay, so we'll move on in our agenda. We have no report from the CAO. In the clerk's department, we have a request for an abandonment of the Stewart Municipal Drain. So Ashley, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any further comments to the report, but I'm available for any questions.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Seeing no questions, that in accordance with section 84 of the Drainage Act, the Council of the Township of Perth East receives a request for abandonment for a portion of Stewart Municipal Drain, Mornington Ward from Uhiah Weber and Norman Frey. And the council approved notifying all owners of land assessed for the drainage works of the intention to abandon part of the Stewart Municipal Drain in Lot 14, Concession 11, Mornington Ward, and then that unless any owner within 10 days of mailing of such notice gives the clerk of the municipality written notice that the owner requires a report of an engineer to be made on the proposed abandonment, no engineer will be employed and council will consider a bylaw to abandon the said portion of the drainage works at the May 4th, 2021 regular meeting of council. Moved by Amanda. Second, Jerry. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, you have anything else, Ashley?
No, I do not. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We have nothing from finance. From Public Works, we have tender results for gravel. Wes, the floor is yours.
So this is the gravel tender. Council sees this every year. I really have nothing more to add. Any questions?
Okay, do we have any questions of the report? Jeremy?
Is this where you thought it was going to come in, Wes, or where does this fit in the overall?
Yes, it's actually a little higher in crushing prices than it has been in the past, but it's still better than it was 15 years ago. So yeah, we're satisfied.
Okay, anyone else? Daryl?
Where are these guys from again, Wes? You aware of them?
They're from Lucan. Had them from probably 8 years ago. They worked for us probably 4 years in a row. Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing no questions, the Council of the Township of Perth East received a report entitled PW 2021-02 Maintenance Gravel Crush and Apply dated April 20, 2021, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and that confirmed by this resolution, tender PW 2021-02 for the maintenance gravel application and aggregate crushing be awarded to E&W Blaine for the tendered price of $496,720 excluding HST. Moved by Jeremy, second by Jerry. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, do you have anything else, Wes?
No, thank you.
No, okay. Now we'll move to building and bylaw. John, we have a conditional permit for Railside Industrial Group. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rhonda. I'll just do a quick overview of the report. Essentially, it was flagged during plan review of the septic system that it required Ministry of Environment approval. That's when it's over 10,000 liters. And in case anyone didn't know, that this process takes over 12 months typically. So we didn't really want to hold up a building permit or this project essentially for 12 months. So a conditional permit is an option in the building code. Essentially, it's an agreement with the township and the owner that they agree to put this septic system in, and then we allow the building permit and the process to keep going. So that's essentially what this report is. If anyone has questions, I'm here to answer.
Okay, anyone have questions of John? No questions. Okay. Council Township of Perth East received the conditional building permit report dated April 2021, prepared by the CBO for information, and that council approved entering into the conditional building permit between Joseph Gerber Railside Industrial Group and the Township of Perth East. And that 3 readings be given to bylaw 21-2021, being a bylaw to authorize the signing of the conditional building permit agreement between Railside Industrial Group, care of Joseph Gerber, and the Township of Perth East. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Amanda. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, anything else, John?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to Recreation and Community Services. We have a Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Becky, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So this basically is an update on where we're at with the Parks Recreation Master Plan. It's just basically a progress report. One of the recommendations in the report was that we annually review and monitor the recommendations. As you probably remember, it hasn't been annual, so this is the first time that we brought it forward. It's just to give council an idea where we're at with things and as we progress through it.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Becky? No questions. Okay, Council of Township of Perth East received the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Recommendations Progress Review Report prepared by the Recreation and Community Services Manager dated April 20, 2021 for information. Moved by Andrew.
I have a question, a
Oh,
comment.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So just for anybody watching or anybody new to this process, these are in fact recommendations and not binding. So just so we're all aware of, there's some great stuff there. We've done a lot of good work, but anything contained in this document is just a recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, we need a mover and a seconder to put the resolution on the floor. Moved by Jerry. Second by Amanda. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, you have anything else, Becky?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to fire, and the first one is a fire safety training grant. Bill, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Tonight's first report is in regard to the fire safety grant that was recently announced by MPP Randy Pettipies. Perth East Fire Department received $8,000, which we will be putting towards several new training props, training manuals, and a new training laptop. The grant's going to help us complete some specialized training that we can do in-house. And it'll also provide our firefighters with training manuals that they can use when they're attending courses. The OFM does require an agreement, which is attached to the report, and I will try and answer any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for Bill? Seeing no questions, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Fire Safety Training Grant dated April 20, 2021, prepared the fire chief for information, and that the Perth East Council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement on behalf of the township, and that 3 readings be given to bylaw 22-2021, being a bylaw to enter into a fire safety grant transfer payment agreement. Moved by Amanda, second by Daryl. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and the second one is a water tank agreement. Bill?
Yes, thank you. The second report's in regard to the agreement with the province for the underground water tank at the Seburnville OPP detachment. That tank was installed back in 2006. The last renewal of the agreement was in 2011. That agreement expires this coming July. We've negotiated another 10-year agreement with the province, and there is no cost to the municipality. And I'll gladly answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for Bill on this? No? Okay, the Council of the Township of Perth East received a report entitled Water Tank Agreement, Seburnville OPP Detachment, dated April 20, 2021, prepared by the fire chief for information, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the agreement with the province on behalf of the township, and the Perth East Council give 3 readings to bylaw 23-2021 to amend bylaw 66-2011 to enter into a renewed agreement with the province to permit the ongoing use of an existing 10,000-gallon water tank located at the Seburnville OPP detachment effective August 1, 2021. A mover and a seconder, moved by Andrew, second by Amanda. Any more questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, do you have anything else, Bill?
No, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to correspondence. We have 2 items of correspondence. The first item we have is from Stephen from Enbridge. Is there any questions on that piece of correspondence? Jeremy?
I think it was Stephen that was here before, but when he came, we had asked about the possibility of Millbank and Newton, I think, and we never did get a reply on that. So I was just curious if there was anything that came back from him on that. So that was like expansion to Millbank.
Okay. Does anyone remember that coming back, or would you like to ask staff to get in touch with them and ask about that?
I would like them to check into it. I know when they brought it forward to us about Brunner and such, they asked for our support on it. I asked the question about Millbank, and they were going to move it forward. At least that's the impression I had. But if we get any kind of information from them about that, that would be good.
Okay. Andrew?
I'm not sure if I missed it. Quick question. Where is this? Where is it to Stephenville, or does anybody know where this line is? Am I missing that?
Which line? So the correspondence we have is to do with Enbridge, which is in another part of the township, but Jeremy was just asking if, in conjunction with them, if we ever got any information back about another area of the township. So let's deal with what we have in our package first of all. Okay, the correspondence about this proposed Stratford reinforcement project. Jerry?
Yeah, receive for information.
Okay, so we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Stephen Jalek, Director, Southwest Regional Operations, Enbridge Gas Incorporated, April 8, 2021, regarding Enbridge Gas proposed Stratford reinforcement pipeline project for information. So moved by Jerry. Do we have a seconder? Amanda? All in favor? Carried. Okay, now Jeremy had a question about gas going to Millbank.
Yeah, I think the portion that they're talking about here that was in Perth East was an extension to Bruner, if I'm not mistaken.
This in the correspondence that we got?
Yeah, they're totaling 14 kilometers in length within the city of Stratford, Perth South, and Perth East, and Zora Township. They came to us a few years back asking about our asking for our support in extending the line from whatever the road is out by Kramer Concrete to Bruner. So I was assuming that that's what this was about. And when they came for that, we also asked them about Millbank.
This correspondence that we have is for the edge of Stratford down by Harmony.
Okay, so is there any resolution from the Bruner expansion then?
Ashley?
I see Teresa's unmuted as well. Maybe she wants to speak on that. I can fill in if we need anything else.
Okay. Staff can certainly follow up regarding that. I know that Wes had he's going to make a comment regarding that as well. That we had sent the correspondence and we can follow up.
Okay, Wes?
So what's in front of us tonight is only a short section on Road 112, which is a boundary road between Perth South and us. That's the only, that's what's in front of us tonight. So I have not heard anything about the extension into Bruner at this point.
So I can just add one comment. We had received last summer that they were anticipating to file applications for Kincora, Bruner, Millbank, and Newton. And that's the last we heard. That was in July of 2020.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to our second item of correspondence from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture. And I believe Wes has some additional information on this. So we'll let Wes tell us about that.
So we're working collectively with the county and the other lower tier municipalities. And there will be a letter circulated then through the county to the Federation.
Okay, is there any questions on this? So we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence dated April 13, 2021 from the Perth County Federation of Agriculture regarding municipal infrastructure and maintenance for information, and that the verbal report from the Public Works and Parks Manager be received, and that Council directs staff to follow up. Okay, Amanda, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question regarding their comment where they make mention that, so they obviously had a series of questions which will be addressed, but they had made note that if we are applying for, I believe it was infrastructure grants, that they would be happy to write a letter of support. Just looking to get some information if we have done this sort of thing with the Perth Federation of Agriculture, if we've I guess sought out letters of support, and if when we're writing or applying to grants, if there is that opportunity to include letters of support when it comes to infrastructure grants. Just out of curiosity, it was a nice offer that they had mentioned.
Okay. Anyone else with questions or comments? No? Okay, so do we have anyone to move the resolution?
Sorry, is someone gonna answer my question? Like, is Rhonda Fisher able to answer my question regarding, was my question not clear?
So you want to know if we've used them or will use them in the past to?
Yeah, like I'm just
Letter of
trying to
support?
gain, yeah, like I guess perhaps I wasn't clear in what I had asked. So they had made the offer that they would be happy to write letters of support in the event that we were applying for grants. So just looking to get clarity if when we're applying for grants, is there a format that allows for letters of support for infrastructure type grants? And will we make note that that we can certainly reach out to them in the event that, you know, when appropriate, in terms of any grants related to infrastructure that could potentially benefit the farming community in Perth East.
Rhonda, can you help us out? You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, as far as support for infrastructure grants to date, no, we have not reached out. And as far as in the future, we can look into that, but unless it's a partnership, there hasn't been a whole lot of areas where we've had to have letters of support, but I for sure can look into it for you, Councillor Broadhagen. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I guess because I'm not involved in the grant process, sometimes there's not a format when they have specific criteria that they ask for, that they're looking for. Sometimes there's not, I guess, a format to allow for letters of support. And so I guess, you know, I just, you know, if in the event that I get questions from the local federation of saying, hey, like, we haven't heard back from you guys about this, we want to be involved. I just want to have a better understanding of the format and process. Certainly it's great that they've offered that. I'm just trying to fully understand so I can say, hey, you know, our staff is fully engaged in the process and grant writing. You know, to date, you know, there hasn't been a format that would allow for letters of support unless it was some sort of partnership. Like, that's what I'm just trying to understand the process. So if I get questions about that, I think it's just helpful. I know that infrastructure funding is something that is so important and that they've been lobbying for. Both the Ontario Federation of Agriculture and the Canadian Federation of Agriculture, both provincially and federally. So I'm just trying to understand if like there is a format when we are writing those grants, because I'm not involved in them.
There is the opportunity in some applications to add supporting documentation. So that may be an area we could look at as well, but we will keep an eye on it for you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have questions? So we do have a motion here that we receive it for information. We received the verbal report from the Public Works and Parks Manager, and it council directs staff to follow up. So if we could have a mover and a seconder for that motion, moved by Jerry, second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we don't have any mayor's meeting log. Do we have any reports? Many committees, groups? Nope. Okay, then we'll move on to bylaws. So we have 3 bylaws. We have bylaw 21/2021, authorize the signing of a conditional building permit agreement with Joseph Gerber, a Railside Industrial Group. We have bylaw 22/2021 to authorize entering an agreement with the Office of the Fire Marshal, and bylaw number 23/2021 to authorize the signing of an agreement to extend the use 380 Huron Road where the in-ground water tank is. So we're going to receive these bylaws a first, second, third, and final time. So if we could have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy, second by Andrew. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do not have a need for a closed session. Do we have any notice of motions? Any new business? Any announcements? So then we'll move to the confirmatory bylaw. So bylaw 24/2021 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on April 20, 2021 be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Jerry, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and it's 8:13, so if we have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Andrew. Second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks,